Yeah.
Here we go. All right.
Ready?
Yep.
Call the meeting to order.
Burrows.
Yep.
Taylor, Gertz, Laughlin.
Here.
Shield. Here. We have a quorum.
Can we make an amendment to the agenda to have the Mariachi Band perform before anything else?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
This is Los Cometas Mariachi. We started in February of this past school year, and we have been funded thus far by a grant from the Community Foundation for Greater Muscatine. It's a social justice grant, or grant for social justice, racial justice, and we have been we've been awarded that grant 2 times. So we're going to play you 2 songs that we'll perform in our concert tomorrow. The first one is called La Choco Verde. All repeats. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and our second and final song we're going to do is called Carino and is featuring junior Ashley Barahona as our solo vocalist. Can you just say like that?
Check, check.
Great, good job. Set. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Te quiero.
teaching grades 8 through 12. We have some fantastic instructors. Mrs. Rachel Stultz and Guillermo Najarro teach our violins. Senor Eugenio Solis is a member of the community and teaches our harmonia section, and I teach the trumpet section, and we're always recruiting new members. Thank you for having us. Good
Thank
job,
you.
guys. Teachers.
Thanks.
Thank
Good
you.
job. Thank
And
you.
let's do our show choir.
Good job, guys.
Actually, I'll take care of that.
Yeah.
You know what? There is a big black case outside. It's got wheels on it. If you just wanted to bring it inside, that would be tremendous. Thank you so much. All right, we're gonna move on to communications and visitor.
Yes.
This time, community members can make public comments to the board. Please be aware that the board cannot comment on anything that is said during this time. This is the only time in the agenda reserved for open public comment. We will be limiting the open forum to 30 minutes. Please limit comments to 2 minutes.
I will begin. I do have a little handout here. It just consists of 3 sheets. It's really an odd situation for me. I've lived in this community for 47 years, never been to present in front of the board before. It's interesting because I think the reason I'm here is because, and you can all have a copy of this too. I just want to share with you some ideas that a group of people, parents of high school and elementary age students expressed to me that they'd like to have shared with the board. And on these sheets, those ideas are for you to look at and to consider, you know, not now perhaps, but throughout the week or whenever you have some time here. The first sheet, I guess one of the reasons that I am here is because the people who came to ask me, I've either coached somebody in their family, photographed somebody in their family, or have known the family for many, many years. So yeah, I said I would speak for them to the board here. So the first sheet here is taken from the Iowa School Board Policy Reference Manual. It is policy 502, entitled Student Organizations. And I didn't even really realize there was one until a day or two ago. But there's some interesting ideas I want you to just zone in on here for a second here. Secondary school student initiated non-curriculum related groups and student curriculum related groups, upon receiving permission from the principal, may use school facilities for group meetings during non-instructional time. And non-instructional time is defined here by the School Board Association as a time before or after any particular periods that the student attend classes. And I'd also like to point out to you that there are curriculum related organizations and non-curricular related organizations, and I'm probably going over material for some of you that you already know about. But it's important because the questions here are given to ask to curriculum related organizations. And also another important point is that the advisors who deal with these, each individual groups, student organizations, if it is a curricular connected organization, that advisor has the ability to speak and to join in the discussion of the group, to present his ideas, her ideas, and relate them to the curriculum as it relates to the school. It's a little bit more limited on non-curricular student organizations. And as it says down below, it says, employees will be assigned to monitor approved meetings. Employees will not participate in the meeting or assist in planning, criticizing, or encouraging attendance. It also, in the paragraph above that, said only students may attend and participate in meetings of non-curriculum related groups. Such attendance is strictly voluntary. And it also points out that it's a responsibility of the superintendent in conjunction with the principal to develop administrative regulations regarding this policy. So this is kind of the basis, and it's kind of the basis of what you will see on the next two sheets here, which are simply thoughts and considerations about student organizations, curricular and non-curricular. Following points that interested and concerned parents of school-age children would like the West Liberty School Administration School Board members to consider in regard to all student organizations, both present organizations and future organizations that may pop up. Parts and portions in conjunction with the Iowa School Board Code there, as we just kind of covered briefly here. No particular point of interest in order of this, but just to kind of quickly gloss over these. Point one, that this organization, maybe it's not organization, it's a group of parents, create a separate student organization section on the school district website where all student organizations, curricular, non-curricular, are listed and easily perused by administration, faculty, parents, community at large for the sake of transparency. Point two, within each group's description should include name of group, mission statement, usual activities, possible future activities, name and contact information about the adult advisor. Three, the student group should be approved by the building principal, superintendent, community group. Maybe this is something that could be worked on. Community group comprised of non-biased individuals. Point four, create a district-wide policy statement that expresses the student organizations be positive in nature, beneficial to students, as well as not being disruptive or distracting to education, demeaning or threatening to any student. A listing of topics deemed to be potentially acceptable, unacceptable could be drawn up to avoid future conflicts. If you look at the school districts close to us in this area, there are some student groups that I personally would say are frightening. They're just frightening to think about having school groups ordered, coming together and discussing topics that some are being discussed. Not necessarily in our school district, I'm not talking about that, but just looking at school districts in our surrounding areas. If you'd like to take a look at the organizations in various school districts in our area here. A couple other points here. Students should have or must have assigned parental approval form to attend or be in any student group. The form should be able to make parents aware of how to access the website and then view the group's description and contact the advisor very easily. I think that would be, every parent would want something like that. The advisors advisors of student organizations are not allowed to recruit or encourage students to join any particular student group, leaving that responsibility to student members of each particular group. I think this is something that's important too. You know, I was a coach and I used to recruit players, you know, and I carried an extra uniform in the back of my car. So if I saw somebody day and I was short somebody, I'd snag them, you know, and recruit them. But that's a whole different thing than what we're talking about in terms of student organizations here. And I think it should be the responsibility of students to make that organization grow rather than the advisors. So just a thought there. Advisors should remain advisors and not cheerleaders for any student group, nor create or maintain large displays in their classrooms or hallways to promote any particular student group. Point 8, provide a designated area within the schools where students' organizations can post items of interest, do fundraising, but not have excessive displays throughout the school. Any additional promotional materials about any particular student organization should be posted within the group's description on the student organizations page of the website, not in connection with or linked to certain advisors or classrooms. That should be kept separate, only to be linked to from the organization. So the parents would actually have that transparency, being able to go to that particular organization their child is interested in and not have to go through a lot of links to get to what is actually happening with that organization or how it's being promoted. Point 9. Point 10. Constantly promote full transparency for each student group to the administration, faculty, parents, and community at large. I think transparency is a large thing. And talking to people in the community and having them come and talk to me, I realized that many people don't understand what student organizations even exist and how they're being run, what the effects of them have been and are on the student body and faculty and community. I think there's almost a complete lack of knowledge about what student organizations there are and what effect they're having in our community through the school district. So I think transparency is a huge thing to make that more community-wide and well-known. And finally, the last point, I think, is to promote a school-wide culture of creating intrinsic self-value based upon solid values and virtues such as, and then I've listed just some core values: honesty, truthfulness, faithfulness, compassion, love, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control, sharing, hard work, building friendships, loyalty, concern for others over self, service to others, respect, gratitude, among other positive character building traits. Using these time-tested character traits to build up students into mature, self-reliant, fruitful individuals, rather than stressing political or sexual factors as a main means of self-worth. So I think organizations, we're hoping that organizations as such will focus in on really core values of time-tested character to bring about individuals that will feel good about themselves and grow into fruitful adults. So that's basically, the ideas that we'd like to share with you, just to put this into your hands, to either consider as individuals for sure, but also to consider as faculty and administration, and begin to let the community have a much more of awareness about the organizations that their children are going to be involved in and maybe perhaps asked to join. So I guess one of the key words is transparency, broadcast among the community what is happening in the school in terms of student organizations. This is not a reflection upon any student organization that exists at this time. It is simply, hopes and guidance about organizations that perhaps would come, and giving parents an opportunity to be much more aware of what is happening to their children throughout their day and after their day is over. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I will share also that I have learned through speaking with other communities about their student-led clubs, that most of the clubs are very harmless, like Paper Airplane Club was in one community. And most of them are there really aren't any written policies. Everything seems to be more about the judgment of the principal and the teacher. And I think that usually is something that goes well, but I also learned that there is a community nearby that has a club that is a paranormal club and a magic club. And to me, those are alarming clubs that would bring cause to why policies are important. So that parents can know and what their children are being approached by or spending time with at school. I guess that's all.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to central administration.
No fundraising requests or overnight trips for that.
Sure. So in your packets was the certified enrollment for 2021. Was a list of items that comprise the certified enrollment. I believe there's a highlighted section on there that shows actual enrollment. That's the number that you'll see posted like on IASB or other financial institutes when they look at and compare student enrollment or just essentially used for our funding. Issue that $7,227 per pupil. That's the number they'll start with. It is that actual enrollment, and of course there's weighted funding for EL. I think it's 0.23. There's special ed funding, etc. So there's other supplemental funding that comes into play. But if you just look at actual enrollment, certified enrollment, this year is 1235.54. I'm not exactly sure how they get that 0.54 child, but there's certain formulas they use to calculate all of this, and that is down approximately 2.96, 3 students from last year. And then open enrollment, as you're well aware, we have the diversity plan removed this year. And so we weren't exactly sure how that would impact the school district. But we're looking at we're down about 9 students in our open enrollment. So I think we have about 53 in and 62 that are out this year. So those are probably a couple of the key points of the enrollment, the certified enrollment. Do you guys have any questions on that? There's obviously more data in here. We're going to go through all that right now, unless you have questions. Okay.
High school girls rest.
In your board packet, there was a letter that I would like to propose that we send to the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union in support of sanctioning girls wrestling as a sport. Where it stands right now is girls are just included with the boys wrestling team, which has worked out well. The state needs 50 letters from 50 school districts in order to start the sanctioning process. I will say that last week on Thursday, we had a meeting. They're up to 39 letters and they're actually starting that process now. I think with the hopes of getting those last 11 letters in and being able to move forward with girls wrestling as its own sport. There's not a ton of details coming out from the state other than obviously when they sanction it, it'll have its own rules. It'll have its own season. When that season is going to be, I don't know. We did put some recommendations in that letter to the state as far as what we feel would be best for girls wrestling. But what we're kind of looking for is the support from the school board. If we're comfortable with this, the state wants school board president's signature, superintendent's signature, and then the athletic director's signature. So if there's any questions on anything that was in the letter or or, how we would maybe move forward with this, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions.
What is it that each school has to provide?
We just basically we don't have to provide a specific budget, just basically say that we will support this. So I think what we put in our letter is we would support it, by funding it just like we do with our boys wrestling
But
team.
you have to have a separate coach or?
Correct. It basically has to stand by itself. Now, that doesn't mean they have to practice by themselves. That doesn't mean they need their own facility. But we need to support it as its own team. Basically, how we run that team, then once we do it, it's up to us. And talking with Ian, the way we do it right now, it works. His big thing is if everybody's still together, that's just more coaches' eyes on more athletes, which is better. With our numbers and the ratio that we kind of go off of, we would need one coach to start with. Hopefully building that into, then hiring more than one coach. But, at this time we'd support one coach. And I think the other thing the state hasn't been super specific on is how this would fit into junior high as well. We would like to support it at the junior high level. In that case, then splitting the junior high seasons right now, when we have girls that want to wrestle at the junior high, they're doing it during girls basketball season. So it's just and we did it last year for a short time until wrestling. But it fits better if they split their seasons and they're able to do that with where the boys wrestle and when the boys play basketball. So that would be our hope to stay allowed at the junior high level as well.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve sending the letter to the state.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now we go to second reading board policies 200-203.9.
I'll make a motion that we approve it as written.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. First reading board policy 400.8.
And you have received both those policies in your packet. The first one is employee expression, which is required policy. This is taken directly from the Iowa Association of School Boards. The number is different just due to our numbering and the way our subheadings are listed in our policies, but it's still in the 400s and easy to access using our particular subheadings and numbering system. So, and a lot of districts have a variance in their numberings and the way that they list their board policies, just because some policies are added and they're not taken from ISB, they might be taken from another source, etc. Essentially, that policy speaks to employees' right to free speech as an employee versus as a citizen. Also mentions social media and the difficulty separating the person as a private citizen from their role as a school employee. And then it talks about school employees and they can act to protect a student's free expression and not be retaliated against. And then the second policy, 503.2, is the student organization policy. We have a policy on that currently. It's very vague and it's a very brief, outdated policy. And so I've taken the policy from the IASB and then reviewed that with our administrative team, added a couple things to that. It essentially gives more clarity and definition to curricular organizations versus non-curricular organizations. Then it allows for a little more guidance on procedures, rules, regulations for various organizations that may, whether they be new or current to the district. So that's a summarization of those two, and I don't know if you've had a chance to read those. Any other questions on those two policies? Okay.
Consent agenda.
Yeah, minutes, warrants, treasurer's report, I'll include in the packet. List of personnel's right there. Any questions on any of that? I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Future agenda items, next board meeting will be November 1st at 6 p.m. Anything anybody wants to add or See you on there, let Abby know.
Sure.
All right.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Since we're right there.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.